Hey, this is Matt with Fetch a Wrench, and I'm going to be replacing a turbocharger on a 2010 Lincoln MKT. Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
Got a lot of oil. I'm here at my high school's auto shop, and I'll do a little walk around here. So here's my truck, here's our shop, and MKT is down here. So it definitely pays to make good friends at your high school. So the first step to this project is getting your car on a lift. If you don't have a lift, good luck. Alright, and the next step, we want to remove the air intake area. Yeah, so we're going to remove the air intake. So I'm going to remove the sensor here. Get that out of the way. Undo those worm clamps. Clip it, lift off this top half here. There was an air filter, promise.
Yeah. 2 bolts here.
So you got 2 bolts here. You remember what size those are?
No, it's on the head.
Maybe 10 millimeter?
Yeah.
Probably 10 millimeter.
There's just 2 little plugs down here at the
Yeah,
bottom.
there's 2 little grommets at the bottom, and that just lifts out. So those little grommets right down there, and those little plug right in there. Yeah, so you disconnect the wastegate control valve from the hose. So yeah, just start removing those tubes then.
So yeah, you have to.
Remove the valve cover.
So there's just a couple.
Yep, they just kind of
3
plug
of them.
in
There's
here.
one right here too in the front. Yeah.
Yeah, right
It
down
popped
there.
off. It's right there.
All
On
right.
that stud. So yeah, that would have been on there, right?
Yep, so you got your bypass valve here, and that comes off. So here to here. Now that clips off there, and that clips off there.
A simple little pull
All
that
right.
back kind of deal.
All right.
And then I guess we'll go with this guy.
All right, so we'll take off this upper hose. Get that off.
Yeah.
So there's a tiny little. You want to point
Yeah,
with your?
so what I did is I pulled the hose back here, and it just came right down.
Okay.
Yeah, so get you, there you go, you can see it now.
So we got to take off that screw or that worm clamp.
Yeah.
That little hose, this little hose, and then that pops off, and then that pops off. Okay.
And then heat shield.
Okay. So the heat shield, we've got 2 screws or nuts, bolts probably,
Yeah.
the top there.
Bolts, yeah.
Yep, so 2 bolts here.
One there. And there's actually one on the face too. Mine just happens to be missing.
Okay, so there's
You
a
see where
3rd
it's
one.
rusted right down
yeah.
there.
Yep, there's a 3rd one down at the bottom. You can undo it from the top, but then we'll remove it from the bottom.
Yes. Unplug the O2 sensor while we're up here too.
Okay, so that pretty much gets us ready from the top.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and raise it up. So we're gonna take the O2 sensor out first. Yeah, I bet you're right.
I don't think I threaded it all back in. There it goes.
Oh, you plugged it back in too, didn't you?
No, I just set it by it. It just
Oh, did
got
ya?
caught on the piece here.
All right, so remove the O2 sensor. There we go. So the top part came down first.
Yeah.
And then we kind of swiveled it down.
Yeah, and then it stands out.
Okay, cool.
That's where that missing bolt was at too.
All right. So once you get the upper O2 sensor out of the way and unplug the lower, you can get the heat shield out, and then go ahead and take off that lower O2 sensor. And then we sprayed this down for a couple days to get all these nuts loose, with penetrating oil, and then torched them and then broke them loose. Yeah. You do the bottom one first, or the top one?
I did these ones first.
Okay, so we did the bottom ones first, and then that little collar slips back.
And I just wired it up so it stays out of the way.
Yep. So
I want it to stay supported because of the flex joint here.
Yes. And we removed this other pipe here because the flex joint is actually cracked. So we're going to get that repaired. So once you get that lower part done, you've got 3 bolts up here. Yeah, there we go. You got 3 bolts up here that you got to undo, and use just a long extension.
Long extension. And that's, you have to get the O2 sensor out of the way first.
Yep.
Because that nut right there would be hitting right where the O2 sensor
Yep.
is.
That makes sense. So yeah, we just hammered on a long a socket with a long extension, and then was able to break those loose.
Yep.
So we're going to go ahead and take that lower cat off. And then, as you can see, it's just an oily mess up here. Oily mess. I don't know if you can jiggle that with your finger or not, but let me see here. So it was just hanging out in there, very, very loose. Alright. On the underside here, there's a big plastic shield.
Yeah, covers the full.
Yep, covers that whole underside, so that is missing on ours. And then there's this little lip along here that are like 5.5 millimeters.
5.5, yeah.
That we took off too, just for a little extra room. So the next step is we're going to go ahead and remove this radiator fan assembly.
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and lower it, and then we'll work from the top side. So yeah, there's your pre-cat or pre-O2 sensor and your post. This was found inside of the catalytic converter. So this is your oil ring seal there, and this is the compressor nut that spun off. It was rattling around on the compressor side. So these nuts, there's just barely anything on them, but we were able to hammer on a socket and heat them and then break them loose. Alright, so the service manual talks about, or just neglects this whole radiator fan assembly, so we're going to try to follow that, and we're not going to remove it. And I'm just cracking these loose right now, just make sure we can get them loose. And there's 2 lines down here. Here's your coolant lines. So you got the upper coolant line and your lower coolant line. These are 14 millimeters. And what I did is I got a wrench on there. This is a 6-point wrench, and pushed pretty hard, and I got that to crackle loose. So that bottom one's loose already, and the top one's loose. So I'm not going to loosen them all the way up just yet, because we have not drained the coolant. I'll just leave that on there. It was kind of hard to get on there, so I ended up actually using a screwdriver, and I kind of came in like here, and I was able to kind of push and pry the end with the screwdriver to get it to fit on there. The next thing we did was, oh yeah, that start bit here. So this is a T45. I've got that on a nice long extension here, and we were able to get that on the top oil line. Let's try and get it on there. All right, so I was able to get that on the top oil line, and then you know, get a little leverage. I was able to crack that loose. So that top oil line is loose.
There you go.
See it down there. And then the next step to crack loose are these 3 top exhaust manifold bolts. These front 2 are easy to get to, but this back one is pretty rough. So what we end up doing is this oil line connects to these little studs, and they just kind of flip back after you undo those little nuts. And then you're able to pull this away a little bit. We're able to get this big long extension on that back nut there.
And that was what size?
This is a 13 millimeter.
13 millimeter.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and take this 45 Torx bolt out of there. This is your oil supply line. It's already loose. We're just going to spin it out. And there is a washer that's supposed to be discarded. Of course.
Hey, it made it through.
Alright. So this is the, oh, well, okay, so we got a oil filter on there, which is nasty.
Yeah.
And then this washer that you're supposed to discard. So we'll need to see if we can find that washer.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then there's that banjo fitting that the oil goes through, screen, and then that banjo fitting. And we got.
So I wonder if it's a 2-part washer, so the other part's maybe stuck to the fitting down there.
Yep.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, so there's the bottom washer.
It's gonna be fun putting it back in.
Yeah, it does have that little leg on there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we know we got the right part then.
Okay. Cool.
It just broke off. All right. So we got this hose on here. We're going to break this loose with a 19 millimeter. But before you do that, before you raise it back up, undo the radiator cap on the top. Otherwise, it's going to come out real slow. It's always going to come out slow.
Maybe. A little stronger stream maybe, but not really. So maybe it's just going to drain slowly. I don't know. We got the cap off at the top. It's a little steadier. It is a pretty small hole, I guess. Yeah.
Alright, next step is we've got this oil drain tube here from the turbo. We've got 2 8 millimeter bolts there. There's going to be a gasket in between, and then on this side I believe it's 1 or 2 O-rings, and so this pipe should kind of twist and pull from there. On this side first. Huh, that broke loose. The other side was still biting, so hopefully it'll take. So it's just a little guy. Alright, let's see what happens. So I switched sockets. I put a 5/16 on there because that 8mm started stripping. It was a little tighter than I expected, actually. And it looks like maybe a little blue Loctite. So they're actually a little tighter than I expected.
Yeah.
Yeah, that little, oh, or RTV or something's in there. Maybe a blue Loctite or some RTV, but that 5/16 fit tighter than the 8mm. So then it should pull down a little bit. And then there's a gasket in between. And then we're going to try to probably delicately twist this out. I think there's a little flex.
Oh, it seems to be moving right there, yeah.
Neck in there. But this is going to be kind of caked in there. We soaked that with some PB Blaster, but we'll probably try to get some vice grips on there and kind of just gently twist and see if we can get that to pull out. Because that's got to come down and out of the way so the turbo can drop down. Alright, so we were not able to delicately grip this down pipe. If you can see up here, we do have it twisted. It is loose, but I feel like there's only two ways to do this. Either get the tube out or take the turbo up from above. The service manual says go down from below, so that's what we tried. But we ended up pinching in,
collapsing it.
Yeah, collapsing the rim here, this tube. Got it to collapse and kind of release in that area and loosen up. And then we were able to break it free and spin it. And now what we're trying to do is we're going to try to hammer it out. So let's see if we can get this thing to hammer out. It's still coming or not?
That didn't move that time, no.
Gosh, dang, it feels my hand.
Yeah, it rattles your hand. Here, I can hold it.
Right, so we've got it almost out. We're going to keep hitting it with a hammer here. Boom. That was terrible. So all it is those two little O-rings,
Yeah.
but my goodness. You can see they're just, pretty corroded and stuff. We sprayed it with PB Blaster, but that inner one didn't even, get wet. The outer one hardly even got wet too, so
Fighting all that corrosion.
yeah, lots of corrosion in there, so but we got it out. And I think it's probably good time for lunch. Yikes. So that is the drain tube from the front turbo, and we're not draining any oil.
Yeah.
Gosh dang.
A little bit of debris in there, I'm thinking.
Yeah, likely a bunch of metal and crap in there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Jeez. Alright, we got that oil drain tube off. Now we're going to hit these two coolant line fittings here. And again, those are 14mm. So when we actually undo these bolts, you're going to get some coolant coming out, so make sure you got a drain pan here. And this is the bottom nut that we're going on right now. That's got a washer that kind of loops around, horseshoes around. Oh, that one broke too, maybe. Oh no.
The washer?
So yeah, the washer's still up there.
Yeah.
And it kind of horseshoes around. Alright, so I'll get the top one now.
loose.
So this is another banjo bolt there, and like I said, those washers are still kind of looped around. Should be looped around there. Let me see if I can get those off for us to look at here. So there's the bottom one. So that one's not copper. It's kind of like that metal
Steel
color,
looking, yeah.
Steel. I can reach the other one. Here's the other one. And the other one's a steel too. So we got new replacement steel washers in our kit that this came with.
So then the one on top, the
Must
oil
be
one
the
was a copper.
Copper one, yeah. Yeah, top one's copper. Alright, so those are loose. So next up we've got this lower turbocharger intercooler pipe here. We've got this little worm clamp. It's an 8mm. You can twist it off there. Oops.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
Got a lot of oil.
Yeah.
Yikes. Didn't expect that.
Me either.
Although,
So I wonder if I should take my intercooler out.
so since we had a ton of oil drain out of this guy, I'm gonna go ahead and take off this upper hose here, and we're gonna see how much oil got kind of sucked up in there. Alright, let's see if we can twist that off.
Need to get a hose hook.
Oh, there we go, I think. Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll see how dry this side is.
I don't know if I'd say dry, but
Yeah,
it's not. Some debris though if you look up on that top side.
It's definitely wet in there. Let's see if we can get a better look in here. Because this would have been the downside. So it's definitely getting sucked up in there. So it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to pull that intercooler.
Okay, so I got the intercooler out finally. Earlier I was trying to finagle it out without taking this piece off right here that connects to the hose, and I poured a bunch of oil out, so let's see what's left in it. Pain in the butt here doing it one-handed. Still getting a little bit of oil out. She's gonna get a good cleaning before I put her back together. Okay, got the intercooler out, all cleaned out, Dawn dish soap, washed all the fins, blew it all dry, good to go back in. The condenser coil right here, went ahead and cleaned radiator as well, washed that all off, blew it all out. Gonna check my hose one last time, make sure I didn't get any oil down in there when I dumped it up the first time, and yeah, start the reassembly. Once you get the intercooler and the radiator in there, there's two hooks just like this one right here. This is what catches the condenser right here, slides in that hook. You have to do that for the intercooler and the radiator, and then way back in here, once you get those hooked together, you got to put a bolt in on the passenger side. Then there's one over here on the driver's side. They want you to take this whole front assembly off, but I found with a wobble socket you can reach in there You see where my fingers at? You could reach in there and actually line those up and make it work. One less step. So here you can see the condenser. Just has to go up, and in. To get those lined back up, then you got a bolt. Get my hand down here to it. Little bolt that goes in right here to join these two tabs together, mounting tabs. And the other one you see dropped into that slot right there. And then underneath, there's another bolt right there. Goes in right there to hold everything together. Okay, next up is these air deflectors or air dams. These slide down in here and then they turn. Okay, you can see these little Christmas tree retainer clips pop in right here, and then there's hole down there. Same thing right here, hole down there. And then our radiator mounts, they go right on top of the radiator. Then when they push through, these little tabs right here push through into these clips right there. And I got the same thing right here for this side on top of the radiator. That's what holds it in place, pops through on these two little clips right here. So just to show, once you get those clips on top of the radiator, just push them in. They lock down right there. Just do the same thing in reverse to take it out. Okay, next up on the reassembly is going to be putting the fan back in. Got a bolt here, bolt right here, some grommets plug in right in through here. You can see there's a couple of miscellaneous ones. Did have a big grommet right over here. Nice thing to note is you do not have to unplug these bottom two connectors, just the one power one up here. This is held in place by these little tabs right here that slide into the radiator, and then of course that bolt hole I already showed you. Just to kind of show you what I mean on the radiator, over there. You can see if I get my finger, that little guy right here, that slides right into that. Same thing on the driver or passenger side over here. Hard to see with the light not being on. Okay, I went ahead and plugged everything back in. You know, the wiring harness goes across here, so everything snaps in. Plugged in my O2 sensor here. Goes across, everything just fits right back into their Christmas trees. Made sure I left this up here for my air cleaner. Started doing my upper radiator hose, got the lower radiator hose. Then I'm going to come over here and start hooking up my bypasses and radiator hose, lower radiator hose I should say, that one's a heater core. Yeah, just keep plugging away.
Alright, we got the vehicle back lowered down to the ground, and we've got the three exhaust manifold bolts here. Did that again?
Oh, I think I'm leaning on the keys in my pocket.
Ah. Alright, so we got that bolt out. Yeah. Alright, there's a second one. Alright, last one. Alright, all three are removed. We got an 8mm and a 13mm. And then if you go up here, we're going to have to undo this bolt here. And then there's another bolt on here on the back side of this that we're going to loosen to install this. But once we get these two bolts on this one, the assembly should drop down. Alright, so there's our 8mm bolt. Now we'll do a 13mm.
Turn the bracket.
Is it?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
It's coming.
True,
Yeah.
Well, it'll just come off with it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, let's leave it.
Yeah.
See what happens. Alright, just put a breaker bar on there.
There it goes. Yeah, that turbo's definitely free.
Turbo move.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking if once that bolt comes free, it might drop, so
Okay.
just careful. Let's see where to put my light at. There we go.
Tell me that that's spinning, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
There's a little hose on the wastegate actuator.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, Matt.
There it is. Yeah, you got her. There it is.
There she is. So we lost this guy that goes to the top here.
Yeah.
Go over on the bench.
Yeah.
So here's what's kind of funny. I'm spinning the other side, and this side's not even moving. The whole shaft is busted.
Nothing.
Nothing. And then on this side, I mean, it just got thrashed.
Yeah.
Compressor nut blew off. You know, rattled around in there. So yeah, there's a compressor nut.
Yeah.
What a mess. Oh, so here's the, this is what it caught on before we dropped it. So that little wastegate tube.
A vacuum line.
Yep, that little vacuum line we forgot to disconnect.
Yeah. That's all exhaust manifold right there.
Oh my.
Crazy.
That is crazy. Oh. Well, other than that drain tube,
Right.
not horrible.
Yeah.
Not horrible. Alright, so we just cracked the oil filter loose here, and we're gonna let it drain a little bit. No gloves, huh?
Yeah.
Alright, so we're gonna drain the oil here. Oops, gonna go for it. Alright, so this is from Ford. This is a Garrett turbo directly from the Ford dealership.
There should be.
Nice and pretty.
Oriented like that.
We'll unwrap it here. So it's got everything all capped off. Nice.
There we go. So we have to reuse those studs.
Oh yeah, we will. Huh, that's a little shocking and frustrating though.
It is. Everything else looks to be.
Oh, wait a minute, where's this tab at? We don't have that tab.
Nope.
Alright, so now we're gonna get these studs out of here and transfer them over to the new turbine housing. We called the Ford dealership and we discovered that there was a new design, and the new design turbos do not have these mounting tabs on them. So we're going to see if we can zip this off here. The 7mm. Nice.
She's gonna be warm.
Yeah, I know.
Yep.
Cool.
All right, we'll hit another one.
Yep. So yeah, the new turbo here does not have these little mounting brackets to help support it. So we'll get this next one cherry red and we'll zip this one out. Trying. About 5 minutes.
Got it.
Nice.
That makes a difference.
It makes a big difference. Yep. One more. Gosh dang. Flame action underneath there.
A little bit of oil burning off.
There we
See,
go.
it started.
Nice.
Good deal.
Alright, so since this turbo, the new turbo does not have those mounting brackets, we're going to go ahead and take off
It's gonna be fun to get to though. Holy crap.
that mounting bracket right there.
Yeah.
So it's a 10mm. I've got a deep socket and an extension on there. See if we can break it loose.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you get the easy ones. Alright.
Yeah. Clean.
Yep. Okay, cool. Alright, so that kind of exposes a little bit more room for us to get that turbo back up in that area. So what we're going to do here is I took out this little cap for the top. The bottom still has its little cap on the bottom, but we're going to add some oil to this. We'll do a little spinning just to make sure it's pre-lubed. We're just going to dump some oil down in there.
That's a perfect funnel.
Oh boy.
Might put too much, huh?
Oh, there's probably just no room to breathe maybe, unless it's already filled. It might be filled.
Yeah, it's not taking it.
All right, well, it's pre-filled.
Yeah.
Well, better safe than sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. All right, so before we want to put the turbo up there, we got to put this gasket on, and that gasket's got these little legs and these little like teeth that should clip on around, you know, that outer edge of that flange, and we want to orient this so the big hole side is pointing toward the cat of the turbine housing, so it should clip on. Just like that, so we don't have to monkey with, you know, fighting it on there and fighting gravity. So that
lines up good.
pulls
Port
up.
match.
Yep, port match there. Okay. All right. So to get started, I've got those bolts just sitting up there on the top of the exhaust manifold, and I'm gonna have my partner here lift the turbo from below, and then I'm gonna start trying to thread at least 2 of those bolts to get it holding, because as you remember, we don't have those support brackets anymore on this new turbo. So I've got this one started, I believe.
Yeah, it's hanging.
Okay. And then
Oh, I see which one you went on. So I definitely have to bring it up towards you.
yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And then I might be able to get my other hand up there too.
Okay. Yeah, it can't come down on you now, so.
Yeah, okay.
Getting the old shoulder workout.
Yeah.
We can come from the top now too if it's hanging there.
Yeah, we can. Just see if I can get them a little bit more, but no, it's hanging, so.
Yeah.
So there's one more. Did you grab that?
Yeah, I got it in my hand.
Okay. See if I can get that one. If not, we'll just start from the top.
Oh, you're close. Yep. Yeah. So, I was gonna say, you gotta bring that turbo up to you, yep.
Alright, they're all 3 started.
Nice.
Okay, so it's not going to come down on us. So now it's just reverse order.
Yeah. Turbo's in.
Turbo's in. Start it up.
Right.
Alright, so we're going to hit these top 3 exhaust manifold. Yeah, it's like
I need to charge, yeah.
these are 33 foot-pounds. So I'm just going to cinch that up first, and then we'll get the torque wrench on. It's not very tight, 33 foot-pounds. Alright, now that we have the turbo installed, we've got them torqued down. We got this little wastegate tube here that just slides on. That's just your vacuum line there. Alright, so that's done. So here's the lower, this would be the output, I guess, from the turbo. So we're going to put this down here. I'm just going to put it in place. We'll tighten it up later. We'll tighten it up from below here. Okay, so we've got that in place. Alright, next up are these coolant lines. We got to push these washers around the coolant line fitting here. Let's see if we can show you guys this. Let's see. And we got our nice new bolts here. I'm trying to stay out of the camera.
Yeah.
I hope we block the camera there. Okay, so we got that started there. These are 30 foot-pounds. So we got the top one done. This bottom one still needs to be. Oh, okay. So we can pull it out a little bit, and I'll be able to put that other one on.
Sure. Yeah. I hope I'm getting it in the shot.
And before I put these on there, I did sand these down just to kind of clean them up, clean the surfaces. There we go.
There it went.
Okay, so we'll probably try to torque those down from below. I think it's going to be a little easier. So next we're going to take off this cap, and this is the inlet side here. And then we'll get this guy in place. So we got this 8mm here that we'll have to tighten down. Get this on there, and then this end's going to come up here.
Sweet.
Very easy.
There's that little vacuum line right there in the middle.
Oh yeah. And we got our bypass valve here. And then we got a big long extension here. And
See that oil hose is on top of that.
so we're going to go right through, this oil hose is here. But we're going to go right down next to this pipe, and we should be able to get it right on there.
Oh, there, I can see it now.
You got it?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Way down in there.
Alright, I'm going to do this a little faster. Go a little tighter. Okay. It just popped off there. And
Good deal.
we can get that guy on there. Get that guy tightened up. Okay, cool. So here's our next step. This is the oil feed line, supply line, filter. It's going to go over this banjo bolt, and then we're going to slide the copper washers over the fitting down there. Alright, so this line is nice and flexible, so I just pulled it out of here.
Yeah, that'll trap.
So let's do this. We're gonna gently, maybe it just goes in this way. There we go. So it fits in from the top.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll slide this guy over.
Lock it in place.
Lock it in place.
You can put the bolt down through it too.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're locked in place here. Don't forget your little red plug to your new turbo.
Definitely can't see a lot of hoses now.
It's not very tight, but I'm trying to pinch. There we go.
Fingers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you gotta get that little guy out. And I think I will.
Real quick, I can't see.
Yeah.
See if we can. Yeah, I can see it straight down now. Okay.
Alright, so let's start that bolt in here. And then we'll kind of guide this guy back here. And down. Here, okay. And then I should be able to reach with this long extension.
Once more. Follow that down. Straight down, there we go.
Alright, in order to get that guy started, what I did, I couldn't get the angle right. It wouldn't start. I couldn't get it to bite the threads. So what I ended up doing is realigning this oil feed hose back onto these little studs. And then once I got them lined up on that studs, it drove right in and was able to bite the threads. So I'm going to go ahead and finish twisting that and getting that tight. Alright, that top oil feed line bolt is 26 foot-pounds. Alright, once we get that oil line secured, we can go ahead and tighten down these little guys. It's your 8 millimeters. Oops. And a deep socket. And I'll get it started, I guess. Yeah, we need a deep socket. We'll get a deep socket on there and finish those guys off. Okay. So got those two securing brackets on there for the oil feed line. So we're going to go ahead and hit the this worm clamp here and tighten that, and then we got another one on this side for this lower hose here.
Yeah, it feels good and tight.
Yeah. Be close to 30 foot-pounds, but so we got a little torque wrench here. It's gonna be close. There we go. Okay. Alright, so now we're gonna get this heat shield up here, and so you wanna go in like that, and then we should be able to turn it to some extent.
There we go. Much easier going in than it was taking it out. Just like that. Right there. It's up and out of the way. There we go.
Oh, is that going to pinch on any? Oh, you can bring it back down, can't you?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, probably right there. And then, oop. Nice.
Yeah. So I'll just leave it loose like that.
Yeah.
And tighten the top ones up and make sure
Cool.
it'll fit. So just to show, this is a replacement part, Dorman. Part number $17.99, and it came with the gasket and the O-rings. And then also to show repair we did just to fix where the pipe was cracked. Kind of welded that back in there. Not the prettiest thing, but this was some pretty interesting metal. It was multiple layered metal, so it kind of burned through the outer part and then into the second part, and then I just built it up to try and make sure I had some good strength on it. So we're putting the drain tube in next. Okay, next is the gasket goes between the catalytic converter and the turbo. So that's part number right there. And then I had to replace some of the rusted out nuts right here, taking those things off. I had to replace those. So here's the part number for those. So I already set the gasket up there, just to show you. That's right there. Okay, then we're gonna go ahead and put the catalytic converter up there, tighten those down, and I'll show you what's next. So here we are, catalytic converters installed. New gasket up top, torque those down 33 foot-pounds. I'm gonna install my O2 sensors, the pre and the post O2 sensor next. Went ahead and per instructions replaced these nuts here. Obviously mine were pretty toast anyways, but it says right in the directions we're following to discard the nuts, replace. So O2 sensors next. Okay, so I got the pre O2 sensor installed up there, post O2 sensor installed here. Went ahead and connected this one. The pre, we're gonna have to connect that from up top. So I'm just gonna kind of stuff that up there a little bit so I can reach it once we get it from the top side. Cleaned off my oil filter area here, the gasket area. Letting this little bit drip out one last time. So next step's going to be get my oil filter on, and then put my other exhaust pipe on here. Where I fixed that earlier, I'm gonna put that in place, and then everything will be from up top. Okay, oil filter's on, all filled up. Oil plugs on. That's 20 foot-pounds. We hit that with our torque wrench here. Okay. We got all of our exhaust butt back on, 33 foot-pounds on those, 33 foot-pounds on those nuts there. O2 sensors plugged in, still have to plug in the pre-O2 sensor, and then we're gonna fill up the oil, fill up the coolant, and it should be ready to start.
There we go. All right, so we're going to get this bypass valve on here. All right, and then we'll do this on there. Okay, and then you got your air box, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta seat those little guys down in the pins. There it goes. There, nice. We're going to go ahead and put a new air filter in. And then we'll put our cap back on. Looks like it's sitting flat on this side.
Okay.
We're missing the other latch.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and plug in your sensor there.
Oh,
Where's he hiding? There he is. Okay. I gotta tighten that guy up.
Okay, last step, I went ahead and filled up the overflow radiator here. This is a pressurized cap, so that's where you fill it from, not from your radiator like you would traditionally on some of your older vehicles. Went ahead and filled up my oil. I use 5W30 Ames oil, full synthetic, and I think we're ready for startup. Okay, got the scan tool hooked up. We're gonna check for codes, see how everything goes. Here's our startup. So far, oh, we got a little wrench here. Can't figure out what that is. Yeah, stupid tire sensor.